Good day and welcome back. And, I often encourage people to think outside the box. And in fact, I encourage people to throw the box away because confines and structures and rules and things like that, they just limit possibilities of both you and your horse. Now, I mentioned quite some time ago I don't know, maybe 4 years ago in a video, the words never and always, they just don't belong in the horse world. Well, actually, they don't belong in life as far as I'm concerned, because the one thing that I have said is there is an exception to every rule. And, some of those rules, they're, pretty good rules, and they make a lot of sense, and they apply 99.99% of the time, but that doesn't mean there isn't an exception to those rules. And that's what I want to talk about, because just recently, there was a discussion going on about a meme, and it had something to do with how horses out in pasture, they don't think about how they're going to mess with you the next day and make your ride difficult, or whether they're going to be good or bad. Those are human concepts. A horse does not they don't even understand good and bad. It's not in their nature to be bad, because as far as the horse is concerned, absolutely everything that the horse does is good in the horse's mind. It's doing it for a reason, to survive. Its survival instincts are very, very strong, and most of what the horse does is for survival. And there are a lot of rules about horses that, like I said, 99.99% of the time they do apply, but there is always exceptions to the rule. And the reason I'm going to talk about that again is the last time I did this video, where I talked about always and never being, an exceptions to rules, I did have a particular horse in mind when I did that, and it's this one right here. I didn't own her at the time. I had sold her. I bought her back about a year ago, knowing full well what I was getting into. And she breaks an awful lot of rules. She is the exception to an awful lot of rules that simply don't make sense at all. And I mean, most of the rules about horses is, one of the things that most people will say that horses are not capable of any kind of premeditation, forethought, planning, scheming, and that sort of thing. That's why it's impossible for them to decide they're going to give you a hard time that day. Some people even go so far as to say, quite a few actually, that horses do not even have the part of the brain that is necessary for that thought process to take place. I don't know if that's true or not, and I'm certainly not going to say it's not. But I will say there is exceptions to the rule. Now, like I said, maybe 99.9% of the time, a horse will not plan ahead. They live in the moment. A lot of people say that, and all they care about is what's going on right now. But I have seen in action, not just in the way that she deals with me, but the way she deals with other horses. I have seen in action where this horse has planned and schemed and plotted, and it took a considerable amount of forethought to do some of the things that she has done. Now, don't use this as an excuse for having a problem with your horse or not dealing with it. Don't say, "Oh, well, my horse is one of those ones that's the exception to the rule." I don't know what the actual numbers are, but I'm guessing that the total number of horses like this particular one in the entire world is probably pretty small. But my point is that no matter what the rule is, there's an exception to it. And believe me, this one has been an exception to a lot of things. When I owned her previously, I used to share some of her behaviors with other people, and I frequently got told, "No, that's not possible. Horses don't do that." Oh yeah? Well, you haven't met this one. Because in spite of her past, and this little girl here, she has been abused. She's got all kinds of issues. She's still got a few problems now. But I'll tell you, in the grand scheme of things, she's far more normal than this one. Now, I said when I got her back that this horse is my ultimate challenge. And a lot of people asked what I meant by that. And honestly, you'd have to meet her to understand. Standing here looking around and doing some of the things that I've shown her do on film or camera, it might seem like she's a pretty normal horse, and she's extremely smart. She is very trainable, but don't kid yourself. She has an attitude. She can be like a toddler. She throws temper tantrums, whatever, but she also has this I call it a warped sense of humor, but it's probably really not. It's just a horsey sense of humor. To her, it's nothing weird, but she definitely does have a sense of humor, and in order to have that sense of humor, part of that is their forethought to create the humor. So, you know, like I said, people say that it's not possible. Horses aren't capable of the thought process. They don't even have the part of the brain to be able to do it. But I have standing in front of me here right now an exception to an awful lot of rules. And I'm not even going to elaborate on that. All I'm going to say is rules, they might apply. And there's a lot of really good ones out there. I will even promote many of them, most of them actually. But don't get hung up on them. Throw the box away once in a while. Don't limit yourself to your beliefs and your thinking, because every once in a while you might just run into the exception to the rule. I did. And rather than be limited by beliefs and stereotypes and rules, I've considered the possibility that they don't apply to this particular one, and that's why she's the way she is, which is quite all right by me. It makes her a bit of a handful and a challenge sometimes, but I don't really care. I don't mind. I'm not making excuses for her. I'm still going to do everything I can in my power to make her as functional as possible, but I'm not going to expect her to conform to the rules, because that's just not going to happen. It never has. I've had this horse for years, and I know her well enough to know what she's capable of doing and what she will and won't do and things like that. So that's just the way it is. This little girl here, in spite of her past and the fact that she's not exactly normal, she's sure a lot closer to normal and a lot easier to deal with, but yeah, whatever. They're both very unique horses. They're both very different as night and day, and they're a lot of fun. But do they fit into the box? No, neither one of them actually do. That's quite all right with me. But I just want you to think about that, in spite of all the rules, and, there's lots of really good rules that are pretty darn hard, fast, and set, and they do apply to, like I said, 99.99% of all horses. But every once in a while, there's an exception to the rule. Have a good day.